Nothing to hide, and I'm gonna break it straight down the pipe for you, face to face.
Being tough gets you hurt. This is a sharp game, a skill game, a chess game, and I think people see that.
Having lost that fight, walking out of the ring, what were your memories? What did you think?
Boxing's a lot tougher than I expected.
UFC.
You don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go. I just give you where I think you're at, which I'm entitled to, which is average. Average is very complimentary.
The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua face-to-face interview gives fans a tense look at two fighters from completely different backgrounds. Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned boxer, talks confidently as he challenges former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Joshua stays calm, studying Paul with the focus of an experienced fighter. Paul admitted that Joshua's size, skills, and champion mindset make him a serious threat. He showed respect, saying he knows this could be his hardest fight so far, but he's ready.
Relentless style, this forward pressure, taking lots of damage and not giving a fuck and returning that damage more than what his opponents are giving him. And
Now that the fight is officially set for December 19th, excitement has grown even more. Jake Paul stressed that this is not just another celebrity boxing match. It's a real challenge against a former unified heavyweight champion. He admitted fighting Joshua is a big risk, but said that taking bold chances is the only way to become great. Joshua stayed relaxed and confident, praising Jake's business skills and work ethic, but reminding everyone that experience is key. He said that when the bell rings, respect disappears and instincts take control. Both fighters agreed this fight will change careers. Either Jake shocks the world, or Joshua proves his dominance.
I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua. I know I will beat. Knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin, and he has no skill, and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. But I want to fight you.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping shared his thoughts, calling the matchup a win-win for Jake Paul. He said that even if Paul loses, he'll still gain respect for facing a former heavyweight world champion. Bisping believes this fight shows Paul isn't just doing celebrity boxing, he's taking real risks. And if Paul somehow wins, it would take his reputation to an entirely new level. But Bisping warned the fight could be a lose-lose for Joshua. If Joshua wins, people will say he chose an easy payday instead of real competition. But if he loses, his legacy could be badly damaged, as losing to his social media star would raise many questions about his career.
It's a win-win for Jake Paul, is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beaten a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing. And he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to...
Many believe this matchup feels more like a business decision than a legacy moment for Joshua. One of the biggest issues is the large weight gap between them. Jake Paul weighed around 100 pounds for his fight with Mike Tyson, while Anthony Joshua normally enters fights in about 252 to 255 pounds.
I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions and potentially, signed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work? Like, how do you even... Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's not official and I don't think it's happening. So let's just not even broach that subject. But let's talk about the Anthony Joshua fight. And I want to hear the clip again because I just can't believe what I'm hearing. Let's play it again.
I know my boundaries. I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will fucking beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will just got knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this shit, but I want to fight you.
So Jake says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He says he's going to beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, that he has no skill, and that he's stiff. And then you hear Derek again with the porn creeper stash chime in. Didn't he just get knocked out? Yeah, by Daniel Dubois, who is a reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Not that that means anything at all, I don't guess. Yeah, Jake's just flat out wrong here with a lot of his critiques of Anthony Joshua in comparison to himself. Like, if you want to say... for the elite heavyweights in the world that Anthony Joshua has a little bit less skill and is more stiff than they are, then okay, but Anthony Joshua is still an elite heavyweight in the world. And then to go as far as to say, I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, no skill, he's stiff. Like, again, Jake can have this opinion. And he says that, that we're friends and I love you, but I want to fight you. And Jake may even believe that, but he's just wrong. Like, Anthony Joshua took heavy shots against Daniel Dubois before he was knocked out, and really, the reason he was knocked out is because he got in a firefight and threw an uppercut as a lead. Because
Anthony Joshua has faced some of boxing's biggest stars. He has far more experience than Jake Paul. And Joe Rogan has pointed this out while discussing the potential matchup. Joshua has gone through tough battles with elite fighters, while Paul is still learning the sport.
His own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh, Joshua.
Dana White has been dismissive of Jake Paul. He said he stopped paying attention to Paul after he lost to a real boxer. White doesn't take Paul's boxing career seriously, calling his earlier fights just pay-per-view shows. He also laughed at legal threats from Paul's team over claims of fixed fights, saying Paul's matches often don't feel like real professional fights, even if he doesn't think they're staged.
Fight that's reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people will watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody...
Tommy Fury has rejected the idea of Jake Paul fighting Anthony Joshua, calling Paul's ambitions ridiculous. He reminded fans that he beat Paul even with a badly injured hand, using that win to question Paul's confidence and skill. Fury said Paul doesn't deserve such a big fight and suggested Joshua wouldn't gain much from it. He even hinted that Joshua might be paid to let the fight last longer, saying he doesn't believe Paul can truly compete with a heavyweight of Joshua's level.
Beat Jake Paul. Excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. You can't beat me. I'm not Anthony.
On the opposite side, Tyson Fury has made a bold and surprising prediction. The former heavyweight champion said Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua, stating, Jake Paul chins AJ 100%. I back him.
Who knocks out Joshua? Seriously?
Jake Paul chins AJ, yes, they fight.
Are you serious?
100%.
Paul calling him out.
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a real 50.
Fury sees the matchup as a true 50-50 its fight, and even offered to bet £1 million on Jake Paul.
That he thinks Jake Paul will knock out Anthony Joshua. I think this is probably like a troll attempt to get Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, but then again, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Usyk did more damage than we thought. I think Jake Paul knocks him out, Fury told Ring Magazine when asked about Paul versus Joshua. I just think Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua out. I think Jake Paul is on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look, a bit chubby, a bit bulky, getting there. And he just did a great job over the aging. I mean, the fool was like almost 40, you know, and he like was not a fighter for a long time or a boxer, you know. He's just in it for the check and the name value of his dad, you know. Aging Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he was a middleweight, but still. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Who'd he call out? Tank Davis and Joshua? That's just crazy. I see Richter Scale call-outs. Exactly. I will say, I don't know, Gervonta Davis could beat him too, even though he does.
Fury's comments have caused major debate in the boxing world, with many questioning how serious his prediction is. Jake Paul responded confidently, saying he would increase the wager.
Possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky. Getting there. That's protected. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still. Sure. Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's he called.
Jake Paul's habit of calling out legendary fighters has annoyed many boxing fans. Critics argue Paul isn't a true boxer yet, and that his callouts are more about
fight Anthony Joshua exclusive, because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know
he just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin, and he has no skill, and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this I want to fight you. I will beat Canelo.
Stop the tape now. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. The thing I respect about Jake Paul is his strategic selection of opponent. The retired NBA player, the mixed martial artist who does not specialize in striking, and a almost approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson. But Anthony Joshua's skills are 1,000 light years ahead of Jake Paul's. Anthony Joshua, Mr. 28 wins, 25 knockouts, 4 losses. Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with real fighters. His resume speaks for itself. I just have one thing to say. Jake Paul, you can't play boxing. Trust me. Just stay in.
Stephen A. Smith has openly criticized Jake Paul for choosing to fight boxing legend Mike Tyson. Smith says if Paul wants to be taken seriously, he should fight opponents closer to his age and skill level rather than targeting veterans like Anthony Joshua who have far more experience. Smith believes that to gain real respect, Paul must face fighters who are active and similar in ability. Otherwise, he looks like he's chasing publicity instead of real competition.
Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really, really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
What did you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it. And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer. But then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from his.
Smith has long questioned Paul's choice of opponents, saying he mostly fights non-boxers or older fighters. Paul fired back by saying he tried to fight Tommy Fury again, but Fury backed out. This is a key moment in Paul's career. He has beaten older MMA fighters and retired boxers, but he has rarely fought young, prime boxers. His loss to Tommy Fury was one of the few times he faced a real boxer at peak age. Paul insists Fury refused the rematch. But critics say Paul must fight more boxers like Fury if he wants genuine respect.
I'm beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world.
Despite all the criticism surrounding this fight, the money involved is massive. Reports say each fighter could earn around $92 million from the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua bout, adding up to about $184 million in total. It's one of the biggest paydays of their careers. For Jake Paul, it's a huge win no matter what happens. For Joshua, the massive payout makes the fight much more appealing, even if the matchup is
Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn when you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring? Fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove